I want to talk about worship and I want to talk about prayer because I think this is a subject that is very, I think it's debatable depending on the certain practitioner you're talking to or whoever individual you're talking to, because we will always have our own viewpoint when it comes to worship or pray. Do pagans pray to the gods? Do pagans worship the gods? Because I think there is a macho man stereotype that pagans don't worship the gods. I just find it a bit, I don't know. Me personally, I find it cringe when you get pagans who try to macho man. Oh, we pagans don't worship the gods. We work with the gods. Mate, you don't work with the gods. You're not on the god's payroll. You don't do a 9 to 5 job with donor. You know what I mean? Like this whole I work with the gods, not worship them. Who do you think you are? Like stop degrading the gods to your human things, because these gods are divine beings. Like people need to realize that these are divine beings. These are way more intelligent, way more powerful forces than humans. To degrade them, or I just work with them, no, you worship them. And I think organized religion has destroyed the concept of worship and praying, because people instantly think worship means like, what we see in like organized religion, like a proper subservitude type thing, fucking repentance and sort of like a slave type shit, if that makes sense, for lack of a better word. Like you have to obey. Like people think worship is like obeying a god. It's not. Worshipping is respecting a god, and it's respecting the entity that you're trying to build a relationship with. You're trying to build a connection, an energetic connection, an energetic cord to that said divine force that you're trying to build a cord with. So you worship them. And then when it comes to prayer, I do hear a lot of pagans say that we don't pray. But prayer is such a umbrella term, because there's so many different universal types of praying. And what I mean by that is people can think praying is, I don't know, what we see in organized religion. You have to pray 5 times a day. And I think we all know how the big three, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, I think we all know how they pray to their God. That is obviously another form of prayer, the main form of prayer. Prayer is also, it can also be given back to nature. You know, a gift for a gift. That's one of the main, what would you call it? Things in paganism is a gift for a gift. You give something to nature, nature will give something to you. If you give something to the gods will give something to you. Like, that's why when our ancestors, for example, farmers, they would give an offering to Donar, and they would ask Donar for rain and obviously for the crops to grow. And then they would give an offering, whatever that may be, and hope that Donar would accept the offering and bring down a thunderstorm and water the field so the crops can be all healthy and grow. That is more of the pagan form of worship, or the pagan form of prayer. But I think you can also, realistically, in my opinion, I do think you can just do what, for example, I did before, where if you have an altar to keep that connection to the gods, You can light like the candles and burn incense or burn herbs, and then just set your intent and pray to Donar, for example, because technically you are still giving an offering. You're burning candles, which candles are such a the element of fire has been used for thousands of years in pagan prayer and pagan worship. So the element of fire by the candles of itself can be an act of an offering, because fire is such a beautiful, potent type offering to the gods. Plus, if you're burning herbs, like I burned oak herbs to Donar, that's an offering, because oak is associated with him, and you're burning it, the energy from the herbs. You know what I mean? And even your prayer, like taking time out to talk to a God and give that deity your energy from that prayer. Because don't forget that when you pray to a God, you're giving them energy. The energy, the words, the energy of the words is what connects to the deity that you're trying to contact. So if you think about the time you're taking out, which we know how chaotic human mundane life can be, so the fact that you're taking time out to worship a deity and you're giving that deity energy through prayer, plus the energy of the fire from the candles is of itself is an offering because of the fire element. And then you've got like burning incense or burning herb. That of itself is an offering because it's energy. And burning herbs and burning, incense has been used in pagan rituals and pagan prayers as offerings for thousands of years. Obviously, you can give other offerings, other options are more central or more focused on like food, alcohol. So I think it depends. Like prayer can just be growing something in nature for the land spirits and just for nature itself to give something back to you. You know what I mean? But when it comes to the actual divine beings like Dona, what I said as well is also what could work. But also, you could also, as an act of worship for Dona, as like a prayer type thing, as an offering, you could go into nature and pray and start growing an oak tree. Like if you get oak seed thingy and you plant that and you grow that oak tree in nature, that's an offering to Dona. So there's many other ones, carving runes in nature as an offering to Wodan and so forth, going to a cat shelter and looking after cats for free. And there's so many things you can do, but this concept that pagans don't worship and pray is such a macho man. And I know why. I know Christianity and all that is like, you see how they worship and how they pray, and it's a massive red flag. But the prayer and worship is such an umbrella term that we do pray and worship. Our ancestors did pray to the gods. They did worship the gods. Maybe not in an organized monotheistic religion way, but they did talk to the gods and give the gods offerings. That's an act of prayer. You going on your knees, and there is evidence to show that some of our pagan ancestors might have actually gone on their knees while praying to show respect. So to do that is of itself is, yeah. But anyways, pagan prayer and pagan worship is a thing, and it's not what you see in organized monotheistic religion.